Hi guys, how's it going? My name is Evan, coach of the Fremont Finneons, and I'm also your mod from the Littleroot Lessons Discord server, and I'm also the league commissioner for this LDL Season 5 Littleroot Lessons Draft League, and this is our BDSP version. So it's a brand new format, I guess, for our budding draft league players, and it's away from Sword and Shield. We don't Dynamax here, and this is a very interesting format to explore. So here is my team analysis. Let's go into the division that I'm in. We have 4 divisions. We have the Valor and Verity, which are our free divisions, and then we have Equity and Spring, our paid divisions, and I'm in the Equity division. So let's zoom out and we can see everybody's teams. So this is a standard snake draft. The first player gets to draft all the way to player 16, and player 16 drafts back to back and goes all the way back to player 1. And you can see here that I'm in the 3rd position, so I can't afford to meme because I have to pick up good value picks in case they disappear down the line, because it's a very long way to 16 and back to me. So picking up Gardevoir as my first pick. You can see here that Yasha picked up Togekiss, a standard play to pick up S tier first. And then interestingly, Amaze and myself, we went for A tiers to keep our options open. So that's an interesting strategy, and it kind of plays on throughout the draft, and you can see how everybody managed to draft. And I'll explain to you guys my thought process through every pick. So let's zoom in a little bit. This is the Team Builder tab. I just made a few changes to add my team name and myself, my name and my logo, and this is one way that you guys can use the team builder to evaluate your team, because I created this for you guys and put a lot of tools so that you can see how well balanced your drafted mons can work well together, so how well balanced your team becomes. I chose Finneon because Finneon is we were once Santa Cruz Centrals, right? So right now we are Fremont Finneons, because Finneon is my favorite Sinnoh Pokemon in Generation 4. I don't really like Luminion, but I think Finneon is just really cute, and the colors are very nice. So let's go through my draft picks one by one. So here we have Gardevoir. I keep it a habit to draft Fairy, Dragon and Steel mons early, because these mons are very rare. They are less common than Fire, Water, Grass, so this core is my priority most of the time, and I'm excited to use Gardevoir. I didn't use it much in Sword and Shield, and it's a very strong, it's one of the best fairy type mons out there. So you can see here that Gardevoir has a lot of notable tools. And one last thing is I'm excited to use the telepathy ability with some of my upcoming picks. So next up we have Vobi, possibly my only misplay, and I misplayed so early in pick number 2. Then the reason being, I could have chosen Illumise because it was still available. Illumise or Illumise, however you want to call it, these two prankster little bugs, new to the format, right? Because we have never seen them in Sword and Shield. So the misplay here is Illumise learns Fake Tears and Charm, and Vobi does not. Vobi learns Tail Glow and Lunge. Lunge is a bug type attack that lowers the opponent's attack stat by 1. So I really could have picked up Illumise. So hopefully Vobi does well. It's regular prankster support with Thunder Wave, maybe Weather, and some other moves like Light Screen. So hopefully this just doesn't bite me back in the butt. So next up is Drapion, my 3rd pick. So it's quite surprising to see just A, B and B, but I really wanted to keep my options open and keep my points as high as possible. So shoutouts to the SCDA friends, Julian, Zach and Spades. For this pick, they recommended Drapion to me, and I just said, okay, let's try it, because you can see here that Drapion has a lot of utility. So there's disruption, there is damage reduction. So disruption in terms of taunt, toxic, knockoff and maybe raw or whirlwind. and that makes Drapion really useful. One more thing is that Drapion has only one weakness, and I like these kind of mons in Draft League because if my opponent doesn't have step ground move, so they maybe didn't draft a ground type Pokemon, then they kind of have to find ground type coverage to hit super effective into Drapion. So next up we have sort of a pair, and this was on the way back, so I got these two mons almost back to back. So this is Disquake, Discharge from Rotom Fan, and Earthquake from Hippowdon. You rarely see these two mons doing Discharge Earthquake because they are not the most offensive out there, but it's certainly an option. And you know, those prominent mons like Zapdos and Garchomp are just too expensive. So more things about these two. Hippowdon provides weather support, so in case my opponents have sun or rain, then probably I can switch in Hippowdon to regain speed control. Hippowdon might be strange because in sun teams you have grass types, and in rain teams you have the water types that all threaten Hippowdon, but I think using it as a switch in could be more useful. Then Rotom Fan can also be support mon because it does have access to Thunder Wave, Will-O-Wisp, Screens, and Volt Switch. So next up we have Paraguay. I would say that Paraguay is an underrated mon in the B tier, and you can see here that I have quite a few physical attackers already. Hippowdon, Drapion, and Vobi. On paper it has a higher attack stat than special attack stat, so having a Defiant mon may be useful to discourage my opponent from bringing Intimidate, and Paraguy's speed stat is impressive. 112 outspeeds Latios, Latias, Gengar, and even Raichu. So this could be useful because Paraguay has access to Fake Out and a few useful moves that allow it to make an impact when it moves first. And for its abilities, Thick Fat and Own Tempo, I think Thick Fat is nice because you know Hippowdon and Rotom Fan are weak to ice, then maybe Thick Fat could be useful. And then Own Tempo maybe for some swagger shenanigans. I'm not sure if I'll do that. So next up we have Carnivane. Over here, I already have a semblance of a game plan. At this stage, a lot of our coaches have very few points remaining. You can see that I have 120 points left. That allows me to pick up the S tier that is worth 100 points, and the other coaches are sort of forced to pick up C tiers. So I kind of come up with a game plan. I have 3 fire type mons to choose from the S tier: Entei, Infernape, or Heatran. So I purposely picked up this Carnivine with the Rage Powder and the Levitate ability to protect my fire type that I can potentially draft. I've more or less locked it in because at this stage only myself and Shadow Giraffe could pick up an S tier, and Shadow Giraffe was primed to pick up Slacking. So the fire type was safe in my hands. And in picks number 8 and 9 you can see that I didn't really need to pick up that Heatran early. So Carnivine is strange, so it's a newcomer, right, to our VGC format, and I guess Rage Powder is useful because there is no more safety goggles in this format, but Carnivine is just so slow, so I'm not able to threaten with sleep powders, fast sleep powders, so I kind of have to be aware of that and play around it. Yeah, Carnivine is also not the most bulky mon out there. So here, my fun pick. So Finneon, like I said, is my favorite Pokemon in the Sinnoh division, and I think in a doubles format, like Finneon can have some impact on the team. I mean, in singles it doesn't work, but maybe in doubles you can go for Tailwind. You can also go for Soak, maybe to enable my Rotom Fan, and it does have Charm and U-Turn. Another area of synergy is that Vobi can go for Prankster Rain Dance, allowing the Finneon to be fast and attack in rain, right? But Finneon doesn't have the most impressive special attack stat, which is why I chose my next water type. Probably like the water type in C tier that can serve my team the best. So this is Relicanth, the physical option of a Swift Swim attacker, and that can work well with Volbeat, I guess, and that just you know, my opponent won't they have to worry about both the physical and the special attacker that can abuse rain. Then Relicanth, like 55 base speed is really nothing to scoff at, and I think having the extra sturdy ability, the possibility of Relicanth not having to hold the Rindo Berry, I think that just enables more creativity and allows my Relicanth to do more stuff. I think even in Trick Room, it can also do well. One last thing is that the Rock type could be useful to pair well with Hippowdon's Sand, giving Relicanth that extra special defense boost. So finally, here we go, the game plan that I came up with, and I guess this came into fruition pretty well, so I'm quite pleased with what I managed to come up with. And Heatran is like the mon that my team actually centers around, even though I drafted it last. So here we have the 4x weakness to ground, and it's well protected by Carnivane and a possible Rotom Fan switch in. And then its weakness to water is protected by Finneon, and its weakness to fighting will be protected by Gardevoir, Rotom Fan, and Vobi. So that's all we have. I think this team can synergize well. There can be a lot of options in terms of team building. So you can see the notable tools here. Most importantly, I needed Rage Powder, Fake Out, Tailwind, and Trick Room. Then in terms of the types, I think I collected enough immunities. I just don't have that Ghost type because Ghost types are pretty rare in BDSP, and I think I don't need coverage against fighting. Like I said earlier, Gardevoir, Rotom Fan, and the Vobi are good switch-ins. But my worry here is that I might have a loophole against very offensive stat normal attacks coming out from maybe Porygon Z, Slacking, Swallow, and Ambipom, Kangaskhan. You know, these mons, they dish out so much normal type damage that is almost neutral into every mon. So I might need my Heatran or my Relicanth to be good switch-ins to that. Then lastly, let's look at the stats, the base stats. 481 is actually a decent average in this BDSP metagame, so I'm okay with it. But what I want to talk about here is the attacker and special attacker spread. So Heatran and Gardevoir, Fire, Steel, Fairy, Psychic, these are good like coverage moves coming out from the special attack department. And then the other mons are more or less physical attackers, so I do have myself covered in both aspects, and if my opponent wants to prep against me, they can't fully EV train into a certain stat. Yeah, they kind of have to account for both attack and special attack, or defense and special defense. And then one more thing, the speed tiers are pretty desirable, a good spread, and 112 being the fastest is pretty okay in BDSP, and 47 being the slowest is not the worst. Yeah, I think not a lot of Trick Room sweepers can deal with my team, so Trick Room is more of an option for myself in case I go up against an opponent with fast hyper-offensive mons. Then this is a summary, and one more thing I wanted to say is like this quirky strategy that I thought of in the mid game at around round 5 or round 6. I thought of this, the Vobi going for Prankster Tail Glow and then baton passing to Heatran, because Vobi is weak to fire, flying, and rock, and then Heatran resists flying, and then rock and fire should do neutral damage, right? Or maybe it gets hit by that flash fire. So that could be one strategy to look out for. It might be spicy. So yeah, with that, that's all I have for my team. If you guys made it this far, it's the 15-minute mark. Thanks so much for watching, and there will be a lot of content coming out from myself for this season 5 of our draft league. Coming up next would be power rankings for all 4 divisions. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye, see you soon.